When I was in seminary, in church history, and you would think church history might be a boring class, but it was life-giving for me. I remember my professor, and please forgive me the specific context, but it's been over a decade, okay? But I remember my professor talking about the lectionary once. And what he said was, the lectionary is a grouping of scriptures that we read every week. You know, it has a Hebrew scripture, a psalm, typically an epistle, letter, that's one of the, like Paul's or James' writings, and then the gospel. And so he was talking about it, and I think it's in Advent. There's always this text from Revelation, and you wonder why. And he said that some great preacher there was a horrible storm like the first Sunday of Advent that totally ruined the area, devastated the town. And what that preacher picked up that Sunday morning to bring was Revelation, the God building a new world. And so now whatever time that is, we read that Revelation text. Now, I can't tell you if it was really the first Sunday of Advent, but that's kind of what I'm remembering. And so I don't know about you, but I got so excited when I saw weeks ago that we were going to have James and Jesus and this particular story of Jesus on the same Sunday. And you might not see it. And you might get really angry at me with what I'm going to say. This is Martha. She's Staff Parish Chair. Just bring your concerns to her. She'll deal with me. Okay? I've never seen this before. I don't know if James and Jesus fell this way before or not. But this time when I saw it, I went, whoa! And maybe you'll see it too, or you'll just say, oh, that crazy pastor's at it again. Now, if you look at James, do you remember what she read about James? James said, hey, don't be playing favorites. If somebody comes to church and they're all dressed up nice and they're driving a big car and they live in a big old house and they got a title, you know, like a public official, you know, or somebody really important in business, and they come to your church, and if you treat them like they are the Messiah, like they're very special, that's favoritism, and that's wrong. James even calls it a sin. Do you remember that? James said it's a sin if you play favoritism, right? Very clear that we're to treat each other with honor and respect, especially those who are poor, because they have gotten to a place in their life that they know that their very existence depends upon God every day, and so they have a deeper faith of trusting God every day because they never know where the next meal is coming from. And you might even remember that Jesus used to say to people, well, the foxes have dens and the birds have a nest, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Do you remember that? And so James is saying, don't be favorite, right? And then we have this story of Jesus. And Jesus goes to this town. It's a Gentile town. It's not a Jewish town. Now, why did he go there? I don't know. But he went there. And this woman, this Syrophoenician woman comes, and she says, my daughter has a demon. She's very ill. Heal her. Please, please, please heal her. And you know what Jesus did? Okay, this is where I'm getting in trouble. He just played favoritism. He called her a female dog. And if I were to say that word right now, you all would be swarming Martha immediately. But Jesus actually called her a female dog. And everybody's uncomfortable about that. So the who is it? What do they call it? The spin masters? Well, maybe he met a little puppy. You know how important puppies are in our families, and that's a term of endearment, but that's not the truth. He called her a female dog. And he said, I don't have enough healing for you. Right? Why should I give you my healing? I came to help the Jewish people. I came to heal them. Right? And she comes back to him and says, Even the dogs get the crumbs. Even the dogs get the crumbs. And at that point, Jesus says, go home, your daughter is well. Now, when I first saw the pairing of these two, I went, whew, this is kind of fun, because does anybody see the tension, the dynamic tension between these two? James is saying, if you play favorites, it's a sin. And Jesus is saying, oh, you're a dog. I don't know. I just think that's something that's quite interesting to play with, to think about. Because what happens is Jesus does heal her. And we go on. And people get uncomfortable every time the Syrophoenician woman comes up in the lectionary, because, you know, this is not the pretty picture of Jesus moment. This is one of those moments when Jesus is probably as close to us as Jesus gets. Because whether we want to admit it or not, we are probably all guilty of the sin of favoritism. We have probably all of us here have at some point in our time got to meet somebody who is so impressive, we maybe even got their autograph. We got to sit next to somebody important. And we, of course, gave them our full attention. And the other part of it is that there's a lot of people that the world has said are not important, that we don't see. While that dynamic tension is like right there for me, I found myself really drawn to the healing of the deaf man and the man who had difficulty speaking. We don't know how long he had been deaf. We don't know how long he had been trying to get healed. We don't know anything other than his friends brought him to Jesus, which is another sermon. Friends brought him to Jesus, and they said, heal him. And notice that Jesus didn't say, okay, in the middle of the town square, hey, everybody, attention here, attention. We have a man who's deaf, and I'm going to heal him. Gather around. Did you hear that when Marilyn read it? No, she didn't read that. What she said is Jesus took him to a private place. And then he stuck his fingers in his ears. And I know this part is gonna, you don't like this part either. And then he spit and he touched the guy's tongue. That's what it said he did. Now, again, that's probably not comfortable to think about. But the man, and I think what's significant is Jesus said, open up. Open up. Open up. And it causes me to wonder, what in our lives need to open up? I don't think anyone here missed seeing that heart-wrenching picture this week of a little boy being washed up on shore. From some of the articles I've read, we are in the worst refugee immigrant crisis since World War II. 15 million people need safe places to live. And I'm not sure we're seeing it. I'm not sure we're hearing it. Maybe we say, oh, well, that's in Europe, and I don't even know how many miles away that is. I can't do anything about it here. So I'll just kind of close my ears to hearing the pain, the cry of people who are working so hard to just live. And maybe I might even get up, right? Well, why would somebody get on a boat with a little kid in dangerous water? That's our way of kind of hiding, our way of kind of not listening. What are we going to do about this, friends? There's movements within our city through International Institute to help us get at least 8,000 families into the United States. We are, believe it or not, one of the best places in our country to help people, to help refugees rebuild their life. Our city is a gateway. You walk up on Grand, you walk on Arsenal, and you'll see people from all over the world. It's the most beautiful sight. What are we doing? What are we doing? I know you're going to say, Kathleen, you're crazy. We are home first. It's full. It's time. We need a new house. We need to be working on getting a new house. In the beginnings, we need help in getting space for it and repairing the truck and keeping it operational. Got to fix our front steps. And I'm talking about how do we support refugee families. I almost wonder if there's not somebody here that God is stirring saying, maybe we need to buy a house. Maybe we need to buy some apartments so that we can help when a family comes and help them be in a safe place and help them learn to adapt to a place where hopefully they'll be safe. Maybe that's stirring within you, and if it is, let's talk. But it doesn't mean that we can just be worried about the people who are fleeing civil war in their country. It means that we also need to be looking at our own city. We have people who are not safe living in our city, and what are we doing about it? What are we doing about the injustice that is happening? Justice is not sitting in a courtroom arguing who's right and who's wrong. We are all called to the act of justice, and in the Hebrew Scriptures, it talks like this. Justice is about ensuring well-being, or shalom for everyone. It's so everyone thrives. It's a way that's a life that's defined by compassion and generosity, and it means welcoming immigrants and the stranger, not hunting them down or chasing them out. It means feeding the hungry. It's about supporting the sick. It's about compassion for the grieving. It's about mercy. Friends, I don't know that there's another church in this city that is so in tune with serving those around us who are hurting, but I'm wondering if it's time for us to do more. Is it time for us to begin to really deal with the racial challenges that are in our city and work for there to be peaceful places for children to live so that they're not killed doing their homework? Is it time for us to walk with one another, our brothers and sisters, to do something here? Is it time for us to be a place of hospitality for those who are fleeing a war-torn life? Is it time for us to confess that we have sinned of favoritism? Pope Francis talks about intercessory prayer. It's a very simple way. It's this. First, you pray for the hungry, and then you feed them. That's how we do it.